I'm Irish Johnston. Thanks for joining us for another segment of Page to Screen's Tennessee Stars series, where we talk about screenwriting and independent filmmaking in the great state of Tennessee. So joining us today is a Tennessee star, MK Kopp. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And she is the writer, director, producer of a short film that was in the Nashville Film Festival called Chipper. Pitch Chipper to me, please.
So Chipper is a horror comedy, dark comedy, about a vigilante sorority queen who is seeking revenge on the man who murdered her mother in front of her eyes many years ago.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun. It's a comedy. It is a comedy.
Comedy,
yes,
dark.
It is.
It's my favorite.
Murder.
It's my favorite genre.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the teaser for it. Awesome.
The latest victim in what police are calling a serial killing spree was found early this morning in his home in Franklin County. This now marks the third homicide in just 2 months. The motive for these murders remains under investigation.
Yes, that's awesome. I think I saw you up there.
Yes,
and you're
I'm
also
also
acting in it.
Yes,
okay.
that is
wow.
correct.
This is a lot. I love it.
It is a lot.
Okay, so let's start with, where did you get the idea for Chipper?
Yeah, so Chipper originally came from my love for the movies Legally Blonde and American Psycho.
Okay.
And I feel like the two films, the fact that I identify with both of them, very much shows the duality of my personality. By identify with American Psycho, I don't mean I identify as a psycho, but like kind of. You know, sometimes she's crazy. But yeah, so I originally was just like, wouldn't it be so fun to combine the character of Elle Woods and the character of Patrick Bateman? Because Elle Woods has this sorority, which is this, you know, very hyper-feminine cohort of people, like-minded, who all exist and talk the same way and dress the same way, and they're all right in that world. And Patrick Bateman has this hyper-masculine group at his office that they're just like men, and they're comparing business cards, and it's like men, right? And so I was like, wouldn't it be fun to see that like psycho serial killer person, but in this very hyper-feminine environment? And I'm a scaredy cat, but I love horror movies.
Yeah.
So really what gets me in horror is when there's comedy, when it's a little campy.
Yeah.
You know, I love the early 2000s, 90s movies, Heathers, Jawbreaker.
Yes.
They're just like delicious bubblegum eye candy, but they're really dark and twisted. So I was like, let me write something that I would want to watch with my besties at a sleepover that also is like very empowering about female rage.
I love it.
And that's kind of how we got to where we are.
Yeah. Nice. That's a journey.
Yeah.
I love it. So from the idea to writing it, getting it on the screen, that's a big, long process. How long about did that take? And you can break it down into writing, producing, whatever.
Yeah, so Chipper, the short film that's in the festival, is actually based on a feature film script that I have. Okay. And the short is serving as a proof of concept for the feature, trying to get the feature made. And so first what I did was wrote the feature script. It was my first time writing a feature film script. So it took me a while. It took me about 6 months to get a really solid, I would say, third draft to where I was like, oh, I've broken the story. I've cracked the code. This is definitely, these are my main characters. This is my antagonist. This is the journey this character is going to go on, this anti-hero. And so that took me about 6 months. And then I realized I was, speaking to my manager, and she was like, let's just get a short out of it, right? Let's like get that going. This was my directorial debut. Had never directed anything before. So it was pretty quick once I had the script. I would say about a month to really figure out which pieces of the script I wanted to have in the short. And then about 2 months later, we're shooting it because I was just so eager and hungry to do it. And so we shot it last fall.
How early on did you know that you were going to play the lead, the protagonist?
Oh, I held auditions for all of the roles, including Caroline, the lead. And then I was speaking with my manager, and she was like, why are you not playing that character? I was like, oh, because it's my first time directing. I'm nervous. And she was like, no. What we're trying to do
you don't
is
get
you to tell this story. What are you talking about? you know this story, you know this character, you got this.
Okay.
And so I did
manager,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. She was like, you have to, what are you talking about? Why are you scared? Like, you can do this. So then I decided to do it, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Great. I mean, that is a lot.
It was
like
a
you did a
lot.
great job.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your process of writing. You said 6 months maybe is what you spent.
feature.
So how did you start? Was it note cards, outlines, just brainstorm? Because we have a lot of members who are screenwriters and we're trying to kind of dig into that side of
Yeah,
things.
so for this one, I definitely read every book I could get my hands on. I didn't go to film school. I was studying acting mostly in school. I went to Sarah Lawrence. You don't have a major, so I was studying a bunch of stuff. And so at first I was like, I need to educate myself on how to actually do this, how to hit the story beats. And then found Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, which I know is, everybody's favorite. And that's where I got started. And then honestly, really though, because I had just so many visions of scenes in my head, and so it was just a lot of just brainstorming.
Where does that go?
Really, where does that go? There were a lot of iterations of what this could be.
And remind me, Save the Cat does have a fairly organized, I don't want to call it an outline, but it is like note cards and
There's a whole beat by beat.
That's
He's got
right.
a whole beat sheet.
That's right.
So
There it
he's
is,
like,
yeah.
by page 5, you should be stating the
do
theme. By
this.
page 30, you're in your beat
So did you
story.
try to do that? I mean, I know you're brainstorming too.
It was, terrible and very unsuccessful at first because I was really forcing it. I was like, okay, I'm page 5. Murder is okay for women to, like really trying to get my thesis out there, and it just didn't make any sense for the story.
Sure.
But it was really helpful to kind of figure out the genre that this fit in, and then the tropes of that, and then did a lot of the fun research of watching every movie I could get my hands on that I felt was tonally in the world of Chipper.
Yeah.
And so it was just a lot of, I love that, I love this. It was just a lot of brainstorming at first, trial and error of the actual structure. And then once I had enough scenes written out and dialogue really comes first to me, then I was able to Frankenstein it into.
Very good.
Yeah, it's on draft 10 now, I would say. And
Okay.
it's really in it.
It's right there.
Yeah, we found it.
So you said you went to Sarah Lawrence. You studied everything, but acting some.
Acting primarily,
So
theater.
I guess my question is, we're interested in knowing, how did you get into filmmaking?
So I grew up here in Nashville doing a lot of theater, but also acting and, Watkins student films and Vanderbilt student films. So I've always been on film sets growing up, acting. And in school was in a lot of student films, most of them terrible. But that is a great experience of being on set. Being like, that didn't work, got it. Like noted, that didn't feel good to be treated that way on a set,
Right.
no food.
Yeah.
Things like that. And so then it wasn't until though, 2 years after I graduated college, I was in New York, having a decent amount of success, getting cast in theater productions, but nothing in TV film, because if you don't have representation, nearly impossible to get in a room because those rooms are so, behind closed doors. And so I decided I would just write my own stories.
Okay.
I had some friends who had made shorts, who had written them and then written roles for themselves.
Okay, you'd seen other people do it, kind of.
I had a couple pals who I'd seen do that. They were like, I really want to play a detective. I'm going to write myself a
do it.
detective role.
Okay.
Easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
It was
Add
not
it to your
easy.
role or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah. So I went through a terrible breakup in 2019 and was like, I'm either going to shave my head or start a production company. And my friends and family were like, please don't shave your head. Don't do that. So I started an LLC because that's kind of, my dad's an entrepreneur. And so I was like, yeah. And so I've just very much jumped into it, made 2 shorts, and then Chipper is now my third.
The third, okay.
Yeah.
So that leads me right to the next question. Your next project, anything you're working on, it sounds like you're trying to get Chipper to the feature being produced or made. Anything else you're writing, working on?
Yeah, I've started my next feature, and this one I really outlined. Detailed outline, very detailed treatment.
Still Save the Cat?
Save the Cat, yeah, very much so. And now a lot of other books and podcasts and stuff I've gotten my hands on. Plus I've now read tons of screenplays, which is also very helpful. And now that I've really got that outlined, I've started actually writing out the scenes, and I'm realizing it is a lot easier to write the scenes if you have the outline.
Well, hello.
So I'm like, okay, people are onto something with the whole note card thing. I was like, I see, this is working. It's less stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that's a good way to do it.
It's a good way to do it,
Heard.
you know?
Yeah.
That's what people say. But yeah, it's great. So I'm working on my next feature, which is an action romantic comedy.
Fun.
Big fun.
Not quite as dark then.
Not quite as dark at all. Very fun, exciting, modern romantic comedy.
Well,
Yeah.
sounds like a nice change.
Yeah.
Do it all. Any war stories from filming Chipper the short that you can share?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, we shot it in a day and a half, which was only because of budgetary, restrictions. And then, of course, we went over on the first half day. So then I was like, well, now I'm paying everybody a full day rate, so I should have used the whole day. So that was my producer brain kind of shut off because I was so focused on pre-pro as a director.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good. But honestly, the biggest thing was the night before we were supposed to start shooting, the insurance company fell through. It was like a holiday weekend or something, and so nobody was responding to me. And they were like, oh yeah, we don't have the insurance, we don't have the right COI. So the rental house said, we cannot give you the equipment without the COI.
Oh, without that.
And I've got the cast who's traveled in from all over in my living room doing blocking. And I go out back and I'm like on the grass, heaving, crying. My fiance's like, we can do this, we got this. And he's like calling them, and it worked out.
It worked out.
It worked out. And I walked in there a little puffy, but I was like, girls, we're good, nothing happened.
That's a solid war story.
Yeah, it was a crisis.
Go.
Like, guttural screaming in my backyard. And then was like, everything's fine.
Just
It's all okay.
very much like Chipper.
Exactly, everything's okay.
Everything's great.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so what advice would you give to people who are wanting to write screenplays and get into the film industry? What advice would you say?
As far as writing screenplays, I would definitely say educate yourself as much as you possibly can. There are tons of great books out there. Again, Blake Snyder's Save the Cat is my personal favorite. Very help my brain. But also just reading screenplays. It's been really fun to read screenplays and then watch the film.
It's great, yeah.
Like
great advice.
one of the early drafts of Mean Girls, the iconic like on Wednesdays we wear pink. It was on Tuesdays we wear pink. So I've sat many times and just been like, why did they change it? And why is Wednesday so much better than Tuesday? So there's just like it's really fun to see kind of like. Then also it's affirming because you can write a killer script, but then if it actually gets made, people are going to change it. There's going to be a million. So that honestly is a great burden off my shoulders. And I think it could be off of anybody else's of write what you got. And then if somebody wants to make it, then you can rework it. But don't try and write for anybody else right now. Really just write for yourself.
Write for yourself.
Yeah.
So where can people go to find out more about your projects or you?
So I would say Instagram is the best.
Okay. Under what name?
Under It's MK Kopp.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from there you can find La Loba Films, and then there's also a separate Instagram for Chipper.
Okay.
Where I'm keeping everything.
There
active.
is? There's a whole thing. Okay, good.
Chipper movie.
Chipper's on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's another short out there right now, and they got like Chipper film. They're very different films. Like theirs is like very like male centric, and I know, right? People are like,
Oh,
this is a different film than I thought. So Chipper movie.
Okay, Chipper movie is what you are. Okay. Okay, you get to give one more piece of advice. It can be just whatever you want. A little bit of wisdom before we say goodbye.
Goodbye. Yes. I had a mentor of mine right when I was out of college, just like knocking on everybody's door, desperate for something. And she told me that I should really focus on networking horizontally rather than vertically. And that was very enlightening to me because you see all of these great powerhouses, the Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Maya Rudolph trio, and you're like, how are they doing it? I really want to get in there. And then it's like, well, pause. If you look around, I have the Kiara Goldberg, Lizzie Morgan, Mila Villaplana, like all of my women that I'm working with now, and we are going to be able to go up together. So I think if you want to have that platform, and really have those strong collaborators like these people that I idolize do, then you got to start with your people.
With your own tribe.
With your own
right
tribe, build your tribe, really find the people who can support you, who are fun to have on set,
right?
Who are pleasant humans,
because you
good
have to
humans, because you spend a lot of time
a
together,
lot of stress,
a lot of stress. insurance falls through.
It does.
Crisis. So just very much like focusing horizontally rather than vertically.
That is some solid advice,
Yeah.
MK. Thank you. Thanks for visiting with us, and you are welcome back anytime, especially if any of your other projects come through. We'd love to hear about that. I am Irish Johnston. Thanks for watching Page to Screen. Keep on writing and keep on learning. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.